Although China and the United States have reached an agreement, and the U.S. has suspended its Section 301 investigation into China's shipbuilding industry, Washington's intention to suppress China's shipping sector has not changed. On November 14th, the United States expressed explicit concerns about China's operational role in the Port of Piraeus, and some officials even warned Greece, urging it to drive China out of the port while suggesting that it would be safer and more reliable if the U.S. took over instead. But Greece responded firmly, saying, "China helped us during our most difficult time. We will absolutely not drive away our Chinese friends." So why is the United States so nervous about the Port of Piraeus? And how important is this port to China? If you like our video content, please click to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can receive all our latest video content. Now, let's get into today's topic. This is Greece's largest port and one of the busiest container ports in the entire Mediterranean, the Port of Piraeus. Due to its proximity to the Suez Canal, it has become an important first stop for ships traveling from Asia to Europe. Compared with other ports in Northern Europe, the journey from Asia to Piraeus can be shortened by at least 7 days, which in turn reduces transportation costs. With this geographical advantage, Piraeus has gradually become known as the southern gateway of the Eurasian trade chain. But what you may not know is that as early as 2005, the Greek government was exposed for long-term concealment of its fiscal deficit. By 2009, the financial crisis erupted in full force, and the country's fiscal system almost completely collapsed, directly impacting the state-owned Piraeus Port Authority. At that time, the port's budget was drastically cut, employees frequently went on strike over wage issues, and overall operational efficiency fell sharply. With aging equipment and insufficient investment, even its superior geographic location could not prevent cargo from piling up with no one to unload it, leading more and more shipping companies to bypass the port. Within the industry, there was even a saying at the time, "Avoid Piraeus unless you have absolutely no choice." But even before the crisis broke out, the problems of the Port of Piraeus had already become obvious. The port's annual throughput was only 700,000 TEU, while ports such as Valencia, Barcelona, and Genoa had already exceeded 4 million TEU during the same period. What was even more serious was that the port could not meet even the most basic facility requirements. Machinery was aging, the yard was overcrowded, the layout was chaotic, there was almost no information system, and it could not even ensure nighttime lighting, leaving workers unwilling to work at night. These factors meant that unloading a ship in Piraeus often took 1 to 3 days longer than in other ports. The management was equally chaotic. A single equipment failure often took weeks to be handled after being reported, and complaints from shipping companies were completely ignored. In essence, the Port of Piraeus at that time was slow, disorganized, outdated, and expensive, and almost no shipping company was willing to call there. Until 2009, when Greece's economic crisis fully erupted, the government, pressured by its financial situation, finally decided to sell the Port of Piraeus. But at that time, almost no one was willing to take over this mess. Any investor understood that fixing the port's many problems could not be accomplished in a short period of time, let alone achieving profitability after putting it into operation. As a result, European countries showed no interest, as no one wanted to put more money into a port that seemed completely hopeless. It was only after China appeared that this bankrupt port of Piraeus finally saw a new turning point. According to what I know, in 2009, a subsidiary of China COSCO Shipping Group took over a 35-year concession of the Port of Piraeus for $960 million. But at that time, it actually paid only $57 million as the initial fee, while the remaining amount was to be settled through future operational revenue sharing, as well as land lease and equipment usage fees. By 2016, COSCO Shipping further acquired 51% of the Piraeus Port Authority for $324 million and planned to later increase its stake by another 16%. After China took over, the Port of Piraeus began undergoing systematic upgrades. The Chinese team first rebuilt and expanded the terminals so that larger container vessels could dock, including deepening the water, reinforcing the quay walls, and constructing new berths to accommodate ultra-large container ships. The originally outdated equipment was completely replaced, new automated yards and logistics centers were built, an information management platform was established, and an AI system was introduced to plan yard operations. This was the first time the Port of Piraeus truly possessed the capabilities of a modern port. To improve the port's throughput efficiency, China also introduced dozens of the world's largest and most efficient container quay cranes, along with advanced trailer fleets. Later, adjustments and restructuring were carried out within the management team, resulting in a leap in overall operational efficiency. These changes brought about a dramatic transformation of the port. After China took over, the Port of Piraeus rapidly transformed into one of the most modernized ports in the Eastern Mediterranean. Multiple global shipping giants, including Maersk, MSC, and the Ocean Alliance, all designated Piraeus as a major calling port. By 2020, the Port of Piraeus's annual throughput exceeded 5.7 million TEU, ranking among the top 3 in the Mediterranean and consistently within the top 10 ports in Europe. This growth was referred to by the international shipping community as the Piraeus Miracle. After upgrading the port, China further improved the logistics channel by promoting the construction of a sea rail intermodal network, directly connecting the port to the European hinterland and establishing the fastest logistics corridor from East Asia to Europe. Piraeus was no longer just a Greek port, but became a new logistics gateway for all of Europe. Meanwhile, the port's upgrade created a large number of jobs, with more than 10,000 direct and indirect positions, and it boosted local transportation, dining, and service industries. More importantly, the port's tax revenue, equity dividends, and long-term investment returns were crucial for a country struggling with a debt crisis. The Port of Piraeus today, relying on its maritime and sea rail intermodal system, can already directly or indirectly connect with more than 100 countries and over 200 ports worldwide, covering most major ports in Asia, the Middle East, Africa, the Americas, and within Europe. After the upgrades, the port is now capable of accommodating ultra-large 24,000 TEU container vessels, with a draft depth of 18 meters, able to handle containers across 24 rows, and equipped with reinforced quay walls. All of these modernizations were completed after China took over. But now the United States is demanding that Greece drive China out of the Port of Piraeus. What exactly is going on? According to what I know, the person who made the request for Greece to drive China out of the Port of Piraeus was U.S. Ambassador to Greece, Kimberly Guilfoyle. She also suggested that the United States should increase investment in Greek infrastructure to balance China's influence. Although this was only her personal view, it reflected the real stance of the U.S. government. From the beginning, the United States never wanted to see China in control of the Port of Piraeus, because the port has become one of the most successful examples of the Belt and Road Initiative in Europe. Piraeus transformed from a near-abandoned port into a major shipping hub, and this revival carries tremendous persuasive power. The United States is worried that once more countries witness such a transformation, they will become more willing to accept investment from China. And it is not just Kimberly Guilfoyle. Several U.S. officials have voiced similar positions on different occasions, hoping to see China's influence in the Port of Piraeus weakened, and repeatedly issuing warnings about Chinese capital controlling key EU infrastructure. In their view, if China gains control of important ports and transport networks in southern Europe, strategic coordination between Europe and the United States will be directly undermined. In fact, this is not the first time the West has tried to obstruct cooperation between China and Greece. As early as when Greece decided to sell the operating rights of the Port of Piraeus, China's bid was submitted through a normal commercial tender process, essentially a market-based form of assistance. But some EU countries first voiced opposition, arguing that non-EU powers should not be allowed to control key port assets. The United States went even further, directly expressing so-called security concerns to the Greek government, attempting to persuade Greece to abandon the Chinese proposal and choose a Western operator instead. At that time, some American media began sensationalizing the issue, hyping claims such as Greece is selling out its national sovereignty and China seeks to control Europe's gateway. But the ironic part is that not a single Western company was willing to take over the nearly paralyzed port. The West was unwilling to invest, yet made every effort to block China's investment. By 2016, when China planned to further increase its stake in the Port Authority, the opposition grew even stronger. Some members of the European Commission even intervened directly, fearing that China would gain excessive influence and claiming that key EU infrastructure should not fall into the hands of Chinese companies. At the same time, the United States continued to exert pressure through the media. But for Greece, which was in the midst of economic recovery, there was no reason to halt the cooperation. In the end, the Greek government withstood pressure from all sides, and the deal with China was smoothly completed. Therefore, when the United States now demands that China be driven out of the Port of Piraeus, the Greek government responded directly. During our most difficult times, it was China that was willing to lend a helping hand. We will never drive away our Chinese friends. This simple yet resolute statement may be the most sincere response to China's years of support. In fact, during the worst years of the Greek debt crisis, China was one of the few countries willing to offer help. At that time, Greece was on the verge of bankruptcy, its capital chain had collapsed, foreign investment had withdrawn on a large scale, and the country was nearly at a standstill. At that critical moment, almost all Western countries stopped purchasing Greek bonds, yet China publicly stated it was willing to buy them. And China's support for Greece did not stop there. China imported large quantities of Greek agricultural products, which were vital for island regions and rural economies. At the same time, China purchased a wide range of Greek goods and food products and brought them into Chinese supermarkets. When Greece's tourism industry hit rock bottom, Chinese tourists were among the first groups of foreign visitors to return. In terms of infrastructure, China's investment was not limited to the port. Chinese companies acquired shares in the Greek power grid operator ADMI, providing funding, technology, and upgrading capability. China also took part in multiple key sectors, including logistics centers, shipping companies, and terminal equipment supply chains. Of course, I think Greece also understands that the so-called alternative investment promised by the United States is very likely nothing more than an empty pledge. And it's such a critical moment, suddenly replacing the operator of the Port of Piraeus and bringing in a participant that has never truly invested and only shouts slogans would be equivalent to gambling with the livelihoods of the Greek people. Moreover, the Port of Piraeus belongs to Greece itself, and it should not become a tool for others to compete for influence, nor should it be reduced to a stage for political performance. To not miss out on our future projects and news updates, please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We will continue to provide you with more exciting and interesting content.